All right, so our first news story of the day is kind of an interesting one. The COO and CFO of Sony is talking about games and game performance. Now, we know what's been going on with Sony recently. They've had a series of flops and missteps. And so it's very interesting to get this guy's perspective on it. So shall we? Shall we dive into this? Okay, so here it is. This just happened, this interview with him where he was speaking. Sony president, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki says PlayStation needs to have more detailed checks and gates, such as more user tests, to prevent situations like Concord from happening again. We need to repeat those gates more so that we could have caught and determine whether that will be accepted by the users or not. We need to have more information that will enable us to make more sound decisions. Looking back on the past, I think we need to go back to the basics and make it really stronger. And then continuing on, we should have done those gates much earlier than we did. And we have a siloed organization. So going beyond the boundaries of those organizations in terms of development and sales, that could have been much more smoother. He also says that they need to select the right launch window while looking at other first and third party titles as to maximize and not cannibalize sales, right? Now, I want you to think about what he's saying, okay? And particularly, he's addressing Concord, right? For those who don't know, Concord was arguably one of the biggest financial gaming flops in history. I think people said it was some insane amount of money, like $400 million or some crazy amount of money was invested in this game. They were putting all of their eggs in this basket, acting like this is going to be the next big thing for them, right? And we talked about Concord before, how crazy uninspired this game is. Essentially, it tried to copy other people's work. Number one, the cast of characters is kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. They kind of look like them. They kind of act like them. It's kind of a ripoff. Number two, the hero-based shooter, but team-based, such as Overwatch, and plays similarly to Overwatch, but has a few unique mechanics. But the fad of Overwatch is gone. I mean, you're really, really old to be jumping into this game like this. You know what I'm saying? Now, I understand there were some unique mechanics to it. I guess people were saying there's like card-based stuff in it too. I don't know, because I certainly didn't play it. But people who played it were like, yeah, it had some unique stuff to it. But basically, when at the end of the day, when you looked at the promo materials for the game and people who played it, basically said, it's a corporate product. 100% Concord is the result of a bunch of guys in suits. In fact, I mean, let's be honest. Here he is. This guy sat down with other guys in suits. Does this guy look like he's hip and he's in line with common gamers and what they would want? Or does this look like a guy that's just there to print money for his company, right? So he sat down with a bunch of other people who don't understand the gaming industry. They don't have their pulse, their finger on the pulse to feel what people want. He basically did not take enough. I mean, that's what he's saying in this statement. They did not take enough customer feedback whatsoever in order to figure out what people wanted. And then they proceeded to sink hundreds of millions of dollars into it. Like, how do you do that? How do you focus all of your efforts and money in a project without asking your customer base if they're even interested in it? But maybe they did. But I guess the question is, if they actually did, right? Who the hell were they talking to? Because normal gamers would have looked at 2 seconds at that and said, no, please no. We've had enough team-based hero shooters. Guardians of the Galaxy is ancient history now. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is such ancient history. Even the Guardians of the Galaxy game flopped. Remember that game from a few years ago? Even that didn't do well. Only the movies do well. That's it. These other tie-ins and things, they're not doing well. So it's ultra confusing. Who exactly were they listening to while they were developing this game? And it doesn't seem to make much sense at all that they even made it, right? How do you sink that much money and effort and time into something and then reveal it and everyone hates it? Like, wait, how did we not know this would happen? Like, how are you that out of touch with your customer base, right? I always make this analogy. Let's say you're running a restaurant, right? And everyone wants you to make lasagna, but instead, all you decide to serve is salads, right? And then you don't ask anyone what they want. You're not going out there to see what people in your town eat. You just open the salad restaurant, and no one goes to your salad restaurant because they all wanted lasagna, but you didn't ask them, right? So you go out of business. Now, Sony's lucky they're not going to go out of business because of Concord, because they're a giant company. But it's like, how the fuck do you not get that input? You're a ginormous tech company based on, the gaming division is based on entertainment and what's hot right now. How do you make a game that's like 7 years outdated, and not only the gameplay elements, but also the character base based on something that's not even that popular anymore? How do you fuck up that bad, right? That is true. The studio did go out of business. Sony did not, but Sony closed the studio after the fact, right? So you hear this story, you're like, oh, wait a minute. All right, well, this is good. At least the president, COO, and CFO, it's crazy how much power he has over there. At least this guy, you know, Mr. Totoki, maybe he's learned from his mistakes, right? Maybe, just maybe, for once, one of these corporate bigwigs who's insulated from any criticism or punishment for being a bad person at their job, perhaps now they'll learn from their mistakes. And then there's the next news story, one tab over. Sony president, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki says the PS5 Pro pricing doesn't have any negative impact. It's aimed at hardcore users. In terms of the pricing, many people made different comments on that, but pricing on PS5 Pro has not had a negative impact, I don't think. We need to take more customer feedback before we make big decisions. Oh, by the way, the pricing of the PS5 Pro is no issue whatsoever, I don't think, anyway. How do they get into these positions of power? How? How did Mr. Totoki become the president, COO, and CFO of a company, and he doesn't have any common fucking sense? Zero. He thinks that the $700 price tag of PS5 Pro is fine. It's hunky-dory.